Good morning. It's time to leave Wolf Camp. Leaving from the Little Emma Creek. Leave no trace. I'm all packed up. Got my bag over here. Gonna put that on and head up the trail. But I do need to thank several folks. Last night was wonderful. Good rest, very peaceful. There was an owl that was hooting through the night. That was a lot of fun. I think a deer was sort of walking through the camp, and then when I rolled over, he took off. But I do need to thank Floyd Nickel. This is his property, and he let me stay here last night. Thank you, Floyd. I really appreciate it. It was a long day, and I was tired, but what a wonderful place to be. I also need to thank Vernon Bass, who opened up his gates and let me walk through his prairie. See all of that, see the buffalo wallows and the swell, and he raises bison, so I got to see his buffalo as well. And then Brian Stuckey, who is the president of the Friends of the Cherokee Trail in Kansas. Brian came by, spent quite a bit of time with me yesterday evening. It was really nice to have someone to talk to hear his stories, tell me about Little Emma Creek and Emma. And then he brought me water. And what a blessing that is, because water is always a challenge. And the Little Emma Creek, it's really low and the water doesn't look that good. I would have used it if I had to, but to get fresh, clean water is a blessing. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Floyd. Thank you, Vernon. Appreciate you guys so much. And now it's time to get started for the last part of this trail. Sort of bittersweet, but now I am going to the junction. Let's go. Alrighty, beautiful morning, beautiful. A little cool. I think it's 40 degrees out. Great hiking weather, and got about 17 miles today to go. That'll take me to the junction where the Cherokee Trail intersects the Santa Fe Trail, and then they go together out through Colorado. Still trying to think about the last 100. It'll be about 183 miles that I've walked since I started this. The trail itself, if I plot it with Google Earth, comes out to about 142 miles, but most of my journey has been on county roads, just like this. Well, here I am about 1.5 miles west of Goesel, at where the Cherokee Trail once again crosses this present day busy highway. You can see paved road comes out of Goesel and goes on to the west, but the wagons would have come from where I camped last night there at Little Emma Creek, which was the wolf camp, down through there, and it will continue to go northwest until I get to the junction just south of Galva. Well, I was hiking down the road and looking at this very pretty place. And I came across these two graves. So I thought I'd pay respect. That's Johann Schmidt, born in 1854 and died in 1918. This is Hendrik Schmidt, and he died in 1898. God bless you both. Stretch of road right through here. It's called 27th Avenue. It goes south to the town of Heston. To the north is Canton. This was the last crossing annotated on the old survey maps. The Cherokee Trail would have come right through here. The wagons would have rolled across the prairie. Those trees weren't there 170 years ago. And it would have gone straight across this wheat field that now belongs to Richard Vogt. Beautiful wheat, but again, very hard to imagine what it was like. But you can sort of see the hills and how they would have just gone over and over these rolling little hills through here. As I continue to zigzag up through here, I'm now at the corner of 24th and Eisenhower out here. It's another intersection of the Cherokee Trail. I just came from diagonally right down through there. Of course, I came up the county roads and zigged to here. It continues to go through that wheat field and back to the next section. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'll walk up this county road for a mile and then move over for a mile, and we'll come to the next section. At this point, the excitement had to be building, man. They are about 3 miles diagonally from the Santa Fe Trail. That was what they were hoping to find through here. Their scouts probably was already there and back with the news that they are almost to the Santa Fe Trail. At the corner of 23rd and Frontier. This would be my last crossing before they reach the Santa Fe Trail. They would have come across that field. I was just diagonal over there a couple of miles ago, only I came up and over the county roads. They would have kept going right through this gentleman's yard, and this house, of course, wouldn't have been there. These trees wouldn't have been there. But they'd have just kept on going, and in a mile and a half, they would hit the Santa Fe Trail. And there it is, the final sign before I get to the junction. So cool. Let's go. Well, I've arrived. I'm here at Running Turkey Creek. This is where the Cherokee Trail comes in and intersects with the Santa Fe Trail. I'll show you some of that here in a little bit. Just wanted to sit and rest for a little bit. Been walking, left out around 7 o'clock this morning, and I arrived here about 3:30 this afternoon. 17 miles, made pretty good time, but it's such a beautiful day and a beautiful afternoon here now. The Evans Cherokee Company had just completed the first ever wagon traverse of the road from Arkansas through Indian Territory and future Kansas to McPherson. The roads also survived the memory of some of the Kansans. In 1893, in an address before the Kansas State Historical Society, J.R. Meade gave a verbal accounting of the wagon road. He said, "What is known as the old California Trail passed through Fayetteville, Arkansas, thence across the corner of Indian Territory, entering Kansas in Chautauqua County, thence northwest between the Caney Rivers, across the corner of Elk County, entering Butler County near the southeast corner, reaching the Walnut River at the Osage Crossing near El Dorado, thence northwest to the Whitewater Crossing below Plum Grove, and pursuing the same course to the old Santa Fe Trail at Turkey Creek in McPherson County." Noble L. Prentice in the History of Kansas, published in 1899. There had been no report home from the 1849 Evans Cherokee Company since the receipt of letters written in April the 29th. However, the Cherokee Advocate on May the 14th reported a rumor about a possible attack of the company by hostile Indians. They wrote, "The Osage and Comanches are going to join together to intercept and attack and rob the Fayetteville Mining Company that lately rendezvoused at the Grand Saline and are now on their way to California." The company was just beginning to travel along the Santa Fe Trail. But 2 weeks later, on May the 28th, the Advocate reported again, "We have no very late news from the parties that left here for California. Rumor states that a small company that left from Fort Gibson had been killed off by the prairie Indians, but we do not believe the report." A month later, they still hadn't heard anything, and the Advocate reports again, "We have had no information from the Fayetteville Mining Company, only that a part of their oxen, some 16 or 18 head, have returned to the Verdigris River in the neighborhood of Mr. Elijah Hicks. Some of our people express uneasiness concerning the company, from the belief that they would not have lost so many cattle without some difficulty with the prairie Indians. Some again suppose that they may have been searching for gold on the route, or may have found some, and through their eagerness to obtain the precious stuff have neglected their cattle." Well, the perceptions among both the whites and the Cherokee relatives was that at least the immigrants were not paying attention, and at worst, they were dead. Finally, on July the 3rd, Diarist Crawford's brother, E.M. Crawford, wrote a letter from Washington County, Arkansas, addressed to James at Sutter's Fort, California. "3 of your steers has come back about 3 weeks ago. They had an old yoke on them. There is a rumor going that there was about 30 yoke of oxen on the verdigris belonging to your company. But I don't believe it. The supposition is by a great many that you were digging gold at the Big Bend of the Arkansas River." Then 3 weeks later, relative W.D. Crawford wrote the diarist, "Remember that houses and lands and wives and children, widows and orphans, and all the untold joys of domestic happiness have been forsaken for the prospect of the filthy lucre of California." Then, arriving at the junction of their new wagon road, the Santa Fe Trail, the company devised a post office, wrapping news of their arrival and accomplishment in pasteboard and oilcloth, then placed it firmly under the only large rock they could find. This is what they said: "We obtained a large stone and planted it in the fork of the road and one of our cunning workmen cut these letters upon it. To Fayetteville, Arkansas, 300 miles, Captain Evans, California Company, May 12, 1849. The company crossed the Neosho at the Grand Saline, Cherokee Nation, and proceeded up between the two verdigris and the tributary of the Caney Rivers, almost due northwest course until it struck the great road from Independence to Santa Fe, the estimated distance being about 300 miles. No wagon had ever traveled this route before, and it was considered impracticable by some. But a better wagon road than we have made, I will venture to say, cannot be found west of the Mississippi River. The travel was on the divide, with which we found to be exclusively of a high, dry, rolling prairie slopes, and offered no obstacles whatsoever to any number of wagons. The course leads over the headwaters of the two streams named the Neosho or Grand River, which afford abundant water, timber, and grass, and at intervals of 5 to 15 miles. Even at this early season, May 12, 1849, we have had plenty of excellent grass, and our stock are improving every day. We had thought of continuing our route, of course, and strike the Oregon Road at the forks of the Platte, but find the grass will not justify it. Consequently, we go directly to Bent's Fort. The letter written by the company of Hiram Davis was carried by traders to the Daily Missouri Republican, where it appeared on July the 4th, and after which it was printed in the Cherokee Advocate in July the 30th, as the Evans Cherokee Company joined the Santa Fe right here in this spot. There had been no serious incidents other than the oxen running for home. And despite cholera being a fearful menace on other western trails, there was no major sickness in the Evans Cherokee Company. They were at the head of the migration on the Santa Fe route and remained in the lead as they proceeded west along the Santa Fe Trail toward Bent's Fort and Pueblo in present Colorado.
Well, good morning. I got my neighbors, the donkeys. They're calling to me, saying bye. Yep, I'll miss you too. But they kept me entertained through the night. Just to give you some perspective, when the wagons from the Evans Cherokee Company arrived here, they stretched from that sign down to that corner as they came in here. They came in and the Santa Fe Trail would have come over that hill and they would have met right at that little clump of trees that are sticking out there now. That was the junction where these two great trails came together, and from here they all continue west. They go west toward Colorado, Wyoming, eventually California. This has been quite an experience. Different hike than I have ever done before. This old historic hike, mainly through roads, but always retracing the Cherokee Trail as it came up from Oklahoma and then northwest through Kansas here to what is now the little town of Galva, which is behind me, maybe a couple of miles, and then it continues west. There's actually a monument over here, and I'll take you over to that and let you see. Joining with the Santa Fe Trail, which began in 1822. Now the Evans Cherokee Company, which had found this Cherokee Trail up through Kansas, they continue west toward California. And here is the monument for that. The town of Empire, which doesn't exist anymore. The railroad, when it came in, it passed Empire, so they all picked up and they moved up to Galva to make to get by the railroad. The Big Turkey Creek Post Office was established in 1861. And then here is a sign that sort of describes what all was going on here, including the Cherokee Trail. When the Cherokee Trail is recognized as a national trail, I hope this will be amended to give it its rightful place in history.